Hello there. Welcome back to the Force Collective. It's been a little bit. It's been like since last year. We haven't spoken to anybody in at least like this since last year. So hi. How's everybody been?
We're older now.
We're older now. Yes, maybe by a little bit. Since it has been since last year since we've talked to each other. It makes it sound like it's been a longer time than it really was.
Yeah,
I think it was
It
like
does.
since last November, I think. I mean, that's
Yeah.
still a while. Like the end of November.
Yeah, it is a
And
while.
yeah, that's actually a lot longer than I thought it was now that I think about it. Because I originally had this stream set for the 4th of December and everything in the world happened from that point and on. Um, but here we are now, finally. Not all of us, of course. We will most likely, hopefully, have one of our missing people here eventually. But anyways, today we were I'm hoping everybody here has watched The Bad Batch. I know Chrono has. Have you watched the two new episodes of The Bad Batch, Commander Tano?
Yes,
Okay.
I watched it. I watched it in an ethical manner.
Okay. Okay. I was like, please tell me we
I'm
have
so
something
I'm
to
so
discuss
curious. I'm so curious about what that means.
Well, it's from a certain point of view.
Oh, from a certain point. Wait,
Oh, I see.
from a certain point of view. Okay. 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 Well, anyway, we were going to discuss both just our final thoughts on Andor. I can't remember too much from when I watched it because I ain't watched it in a little bit. So I'm just going to give my final thoughts on it in just in a little bit when we actually start the discussion. Um, this might be a bit of a shorter stream than usual. I had to start a little later because things came up, but um we are here. We are going to speak both about Andor and probably more in depth about the Bad Batch than Andor. We're just going to give our thoughts on Andor. So maybe eventually Soraya will be here, but I'll just go ahead and we'll just go ahead and start the discussion. Um, so, how'd you all like Andor, like the finale? I guess I'll start with Chrono since he's next to me. So, how'd you feel about it? How'd you like it? Just give me your honest, unfiltered opinion.
Well, the good thing about being a minority is I can say anything and get away with it.
Exactly.
So no, yeah. I mean, the show was okay. It was slow. We said this every episode, and it was true for the whole show. It was too
Yep.
slow.
Yep.
And the end, I did like it, but I feel like they never could decide what the damn show was about. because because if you're trying to follow the like Andor's story, it's not exactly 100% about him, and the sister thing never got. It kind of it kind of makes you think about what Marga said, like, oh, stop looking for your sister. And it's like, okay, she either died or you just want us, the audience, to stop thinking about the sister. I don't know. And then the show keeps showing us stuff about Mon Mothma trying to navigate the duality of being a senator and a rebel. And the idea is very nice, but it's not properly executed. I mean, the her best thing was the moment when she sells out the husband in the car. It's like, okay, I'm gonna throw you under the bus so they stop coming after me. And I
Mm-hmm.
really like that. I know they did it. They didn't do that out of creativity or whatever. They did it to empower her and to make the man look incompetent. But given the character that she is, it makes sense that she would have to do something like that.
That and her husband's just a jerk.
Yeah, they make it. They make sure you don't have any sympathy for that guy.
True enough.
and I really like that. And I also didn't like the whole thing with Sibyl. I mean, they made us think in the very first two episodes that Sibyl's arc was going somewhere, and it wasn't. He just became this creepy guy stalking Dedra for no reason. I mean, you can never tell if he's following her or if he's really into the Empire stuff. I don't know what he wants to get out of that, and he ends up saving her from the mob, which made no sense. I mean, it made no sense that an Imperial officer of her caliber was there to begin with. I mean, on site, yes, but that close to the riot, that's just asking for trouble. You have troopers to do that.
True enough. True enough.
So yeah, I think the idea of what they wanted to tell about the rebellion and Andor being a key part of it, that's cool. But I think
Hmm.
they never found the show's identity as what are you trying to accomplish with this? What is the main course for this? Because yes, you have many subplots, but none of them get resolved. I mean, we see Andor going from this place to this other, and in the end, he decides to join Luthen. And I'm like, yeah, I'm wishing season two will be more of rebel style missions with him and Luthen and the other characters, because Luthen was the most interesting thing about the show. The
Hmm.
rest of it was okay, but Luthen was like, yeah, give me a show of this guy doing rebel things.
Yep.
And I think that if we get that, season two could very much capitalize on the people who actually cared about season one and make something good with it. If not, if they keep doing this thousand plot thing and they keep dragging episode after episode to tell you something they could have told you in a shorter time, if they keep doing that, I think people will lose interest.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Um,
yeah, overall, I can say that yeah, it was a good show. I mean, I would say it was maybe a 7.5. I don't
7.5.
yeah
Hmm.
I don't see an 8 because it's far from perfect, but it had the right ideas and production wise, it was really good because all of the stuff you saw on the screen was believable.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. So, um, the the best part, in my opinion, about the finale was that speech that Luthen gave. I actually really
Oh
enjoyed that
yes,
speech. That was actually a really good scene, and that alone has sort of raised my score up by 1 point. So I'm not going to talk about what anything just yet, but I just wanted to say that I really did like that scene. They did some good things with the show. There were some things that I didn't
yeah.
care that much for. Some things I really liked. Let's just hope that season two can capitalize on that. You got anything else to add with that, or do you want me to go on to Commander Tano now?
No, I think we should move on. That's pretty much it. And I mean, anyone anyway, the show is over, and a lot of people didn't even know it existed. So
Well, it sort of feels like that kind of show, to be honest.
yeah.
Um, so Commander Tano, your turn. What is
Um,
your opinion?
so I actually have not watched any of it. So yeah. Um
Okay,
uh,
okay, I'm good. I'm
so
good.
yeah, interpret all of that how you will, but that's the yeah, we could, like I've said every time we've gone on stream, and I keep saying, okay, I'm gonna go and watch and catch up. Oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. And then I keep saying during the stream, oh, we can talk about the fact that I haven't watched it and why I haven't watched it. and this is in keeping with that tradition. So, yes. You
Well,
know, but
go ahead.
actually, you all were I haven't been keeping abreast of Star Wars news or much news going on in the world lately, but So are they confirmed to have a second season in the works?
As far as I know, they have already like confirmed it.
Interesting.
They started shooting, I think.
Oh, they did. They already started
Really?
shooting.
I think
When
they
did
did.
they? I wonder when they started filming.
I'm not
Huh.
sure, but I think I heard that they did, or that they were about to, because yeah, the
That
season
makes
two for that
sense.
one is, yeah.
That makes
Huh.
that yeah, no, that makes sense. Like it like on the one hand doesn't make sense, but it does make sense that they with these things you gotta kind of start early on and you can't necessarily wait and see how a show is received. You just gotta start working on the second season generally. Um,
Yep.
but
Schedule's tight.
that's interesting,
Hmm.
especially given and that show it is in such a weird spot where it's generally you know been when people have received it and watched it, it's been generally better received than the past two live action attempts. But and it has better production quality, but also that comes at a price. And it'll be interesting if they do season 2 and follow through with that. If it's going to be of similar quality to season 1, or if they, since all that's happened with Disney and their money problems, if they're going to start cutting back even further on quality for some of their Disney Plus stuff.
Hmm. I hope that's
Because
not
it's
the
like,
case.
yeah, I don't think it will necessarily be the case for season 2 if they're doing season 2 because it's so early. They're already doing whatever they're going to do. But I wonder if things things down the road are going to be of even, and like I said, I'm thinking like Book of Boba Fett and all those issues there. If we're going to get
Oh gosh.
conceivably even worse stuff production wise.
Yeah.
Honestly, hope not.
Because it's like they've got to make cuts somewhere. And either that means cutting entire shows, which they probably will do, maybe. And/or if they're not going to cut shows, then they've got to just cut on the cost to make all those things that they have slated.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, something's got to be cut. And unfortunately, it's probably not going to be the story group.
Yeah, probably not.
But yeah, that'll be interesting. But yeah, I have not watched it. I got away with not watching it. I feel kind of ashamed, but at the same, I don't know. If they make season 2 and release it, if that comes around, I might watch season 1, and so therefore watch season 2. But yeah, I just didn't. I kept trying to will myself to do it, and I didn't.
Well, I mean, that's sort of
um,
telling about
I
what this has
almost,
become, anyways.
along similar lines, I almost didn't watch the first 2 episodes of Bad Batch. Like I willed myself to this morning, and I did it, but I was, I don't know, I'm so jaded. Like I'm so jaded at this point, and yeah, um, it was just like it was only because like okay, I've got some free time, I'll do this. And yeah, we can talk more about that, about my cynicism. And it was frustrating because it's like I enjoyed what I saw, but also like I'm just cynical. I'm just like I'm like trying not to not get attached, just accept that there's gonna be something, either characters killed that I don't want killed, or killed in a way that I don't want them killed, or something else botched. I'm just gonna accept that.
Yeah. For me, lately it's been like, you know what? I almost wish that they would just go to just strictly animated Star Wars again, because at least that
Mm-hmm.
stuff seemed to be most of the time better than what we get with the live action. I was more excited for the Bad Batch than I was for Andor,
Oh,
especially
agreed.
after Andor kept coming out. I got a little less excited with each episode, and my sister, who was defending it to her dying breath for like the first half of the series, started losing like her will to defend it, because I'm not kidding. She defended it. I told her things that I didn't like about it. She's like, "Nah, shut up." and and then later on, like in the later half of the show, she started seeing it too, and she's like, "I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that." And at the by the end, we were just both going, it was okay, but it was not my favorite thing. So now I'm starting to wish that they would just stick with animated Star Wars, because it seems like they can get
Yeah.
that for the most part right.
And I
But
think there are many, I think there are a couple good reasons for that. One is that I think it's kind of fortunate. Star Wars animation is, for some, for various reasons, Star Wars animation generally is considered kind of niche or less than live action, if that makes sense. And
hmm
so, because it doesn't necessarily get the attention that live action does, like, it doesn't necessarily. Now, it does. You do get some crazies attracted to, like, who want to, do stuff with that, but
hmm
it's just, it doesn't seem, these live action productions seem to attract extra crazy writers, actors, directors, whatnot, who want to just kind of ruin things. I don't
yeah.
know. I don't know how else to express it. Um, but
No, I
yeah,
understand what you're saying, and honestly, I can see it now. I can see what you're saying, and it's sort of bad,
it
you know.
is. Well, it's similar like with animation too. It's like, okay, you can get some crazy people who want to just kind of jump in and cameo or whatever, but it's like you can't, and it's like it's just with animation, it's just more, as opposed to if you're seeing a live action show or movie, it's often made about, oh, we got this like famous actor to do this and that or whatever. It's like you can't, you can do that with animation, but it is just isn't as impactful. You don't have as much of that perverse incentive where you have people in the show making it about them as opposed to kind of the lore and the story that it's supposed to,
hmm
convey. Um, but yeah, but that's the thing. Out of all of the, ever, from Book of Boba Fett forward, like ever since that, like of all the kind of things, that I was like looking, I've been looking, or at least open to that are going to be churned out by Lucasfilm. It's basically just like animation. That's it. I'm not even. I'm kind of like, yeah. It's, but even then, I'm like cynical. I'm so cynical and jaded. I probably shouldn't
Yeah.
be talking anymore, but yeah.
Nah, it's okay. See, for me, when it comes to the live action, I still have some hope for the Ahsoka show and the Mandalorian season 3. But anything that wasn't announced back then, I've sort of lost my excitement for live action. But because we're getting a live action Ahsoka, where they announced that way back when, I was super excited about it back then. I'm maybe a little less excited about it now, just because they've not really done much with it. And I mean, I think they're like still shooting it, or are they done with it, or did they just start? I can't remember.
Oh,
Um,
good question.
but I know that something's going on with it. We had some news sort of recently, but um, honestly, like because they haven't really done that much with it, and because of the quality of certain shows like the Book of Boba Fett and Andor, well, quality isn't story wise, how it was told. Um, I've become a little less excited than I was before, though. That little bit of nostalgia from when they first announced all these live action shows when the Mandalorian was really big. It's still there a little bit, so it's not wanting to leave me, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to slowly like not be as excited for their live action. And I was telling my sister this too. Like I sort of wish that they just stuck with the animation instead, you know. But
Yeah.
it is what it is, I guess. And I mean, I have high hopes for the Bad Batch season 2. I feel like they'll learn from their mistakes from the first season with some of the things that happened in it, but I do have some hope for this one. I don't know. It started off on a high note, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I liked what I saw. I'm just like I'm so. It's. I guess it's because of all that's kind of elapsed with on the live and I shouldn't let but on the live action front, it's left me so jaded. Like
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah, and yeah, and the book it's all the Book of Boba Fett. Oh my goodness, that's the thing. It makes I don't care what you do. It makes Mandalorian season 3 so messy now.
Yeah.
Um, it's gonna be so they they seem to assume that here's the mistake they're making. They're assuming that live action audio. Well, they made so many mistakes. Um, they should have just. They should not have fired Gina Carano.
They really
That's the
shouldn't
thing.
have.
They were kind of honestly. That's what everything went. They cursed themselves. It's like a curse. Um, on, on everything
Yep.
thereafter released, but it's what the one big mistake they're making apart from stuff like that is they assume that the live action audiences for these shows operate the same way as the animation audience. So
Mm-hmm.
the animation audience is coming from Clone Wars and has a certain kind of knowledge and expectation of how the story works. They're okay with these very long episodic kind of stories, multiple arcs. They're used to navigating that. They don't need to be kind of they don't necessarily need the blanks filled in for them. But where they made the mistake with the live action is thinking, oh, if people like The Mandalorian, then they're going to watch Book of Boba Fett. They're going to watch Kenobi. They're going to watch Andor. They're going to watch every live action thing that we put out. All these different shows. And it's like, no, people will. You have a bunch of people who've watched The Mandalorian. That's kind of all live action Star Wars they can stomach or do. And then
Mm-hmm.
what and now with this big gap, they come back to kind of they left it off at season 2 where Mando splits with Baby Yoda, and then they come back in season 3. They're gonna be like, what on earth? They're back together, and also there's gonna be a whole lot of kind of stuff that happened in Book of Boba Fett that people may not have necessarily watched,
And now they'll have to go
and
back and watch it to understand it all.
yeah, and people don't. They're not gonna do that. Um,
No.
that's not that kind of audience. It's more of a casual sort of. I mean, the why Mandalorian was brilliant in terms of marketing for Disney was like that it was it attracted kind of very intense hardcore Star Wars fans, but it also kind of attracted a lot of kind of casual fans, if that makes sense. But
Mm-hmm.
those aren't the type that are going to go back and do their research and go look into these other episodes of other shows to fill in the blanks. Um,
Yeah.
so Yeah, they just the Book of Boba Fett left that so messy. There's just, in my view, there's no way to make that tidy again. It, I
Well, anyways, back to the last bit of Andor here. Uh, since you haven't watched it, then I assume you have nothing else much to say about it. So I can't really expect a number out of 10 rating from you, but maybe, maybe eventually we'll get that out of you when season 2 comes out and you may possibly watch
I'll
it.
follow. I'll take Chrono's word and be like it's a 7.5.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll go with that then. Um, so anyway, since you know, since two of us here have watched it, I guess the only other person here that has needs to give their rating, which is me. Um, I'm going. Well, first I'm going to explain a couple things. So let me try to remember everything here because it has been a little bit since I've watched Andor. I didn't go back and rewatch any of the episodes because none of them really stuck out to me to the point where I would rewatch it. Unlike The Mandalorian, I've went and rewatched that show of a bunch of the episodes multiple times. The Book of Boba Fett, the last few episodes I rewatched a couple times because I mean they were mainly about the Mandalorian and other things like that. Which that might be a little bit telling as well. Andor
How
just
many times did you watch Cat Bane die?
oh, that one I didn't watch it again. Never again. I didn't touch that episode.
I forgot
I
about
refuse.
that.
No, wait. No. I watched it twice. You want to know why? I had to watch it with my sister who hadn't watched it. And
And you closed your eyes when it happened?
oh, I told them before we watched it. No, I didn't tell them. No, I wanted them to be just as mad as I was. I wanted them to be just as mad. I
A great
told them
brother.
that this episode made me mad, and I made them watch it. And then after they watched it, they looked at me and they understood why I was so mad because they had the exact same reaction. They reacted the exact same way that I did. I just yelled as loud as I could, "What?" And that's what they did. And
Lord Sidious approves of your brotherly ways.
yes, I was a bit evil. I don't think they liked that I watched it without them, but they took forever to watch it with me. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and watch it. Got mad after watching it. PTSD moment right there. I just remembered it all. Anyway, anyways, so back to what I was trying to say. Their live action, which I watched a few episodes of Kenobi as well, multiple times. I think I might have watched the entire series twice. Um, I can't remember if I did or not. I know I watched a few of the episodes like 2 or 3 times. I was able to rewatch certain series. I can't rewatch Andor. I can't rewatch the Book of Boba Fett fully. As much as I love Tamora Morrison and him reprising his role as Boba Fett and the show being all about that, they botched it from the very beginning with the poor pacing and the constant Naruto flashbacks that show up out of nowhere that take up almost an entire episode. Um, by the way, that's a bit of an inside joke of me talking about Naruto. That's one of my nitpicks right there from Naruto. That's one of those nitpicks that I was talking about earlier. Yeah, nobody else will know what we were talking about. We were talking about anime before the stream.
Filler is a word Naruto fans are very aware of.
Ain't that the truth? Anyways, the thing about the live action now, with Andor and all that is that it used to interest me, and then when Andor came in doing like, how do I explain? They were, well, I sort of already did. they did like 3 episode arcs covering a certain part of the story, and there's like 3 episode arcs, and then the last episode, 3 episodes. No, the last 2 episodes were like an arc, and then the last episode was its own thing, right? Or was it one episode in between, and then the last two were? Yeah, that's what it was. I think I can't remember. But apparently, the last 2 episodes were supposed to bring everything together, but I didn't feel like it brought everything together. It just brought them back to the same planet that they started off on.
Yeah.
And the timing of the mother dying and all that stuff, like I really wish they would have did a bit of a better lead up to her like getting sick and dying, because she didn't seem like she was super sick. All of a sudden, she's like, "I'm going to stay here and I'm going to fight the good fight," and then all of a sudden, sick. Everybody's having to look after her and all that stuff. She dies, and then Andor comes back, doesn't even know she's dead, but he calls like, "Oh, hey, tell my mom I love her and that I'll be back," and stuff like that. And then, "Nobody told you she's dead," and he's like, "Oh, okay." And then he comes back, and all the people of the planet are just like gathering in the streets for the funeral for her, and they use the funeral as a front to start a riot or whatever. And I don't know. It's the last episode was a better episode. It actually felt like things were heating up, and there was some action. There was actually something that got me like ready to watch a little bit more, but that just happened to be the last episode of the season, which is not good if that's the only episode that's really gotten me to want to see more. The whole season should have made me want to watch more, but no, it was a slow, very slow burn all the way up to the final episode. And that's got to say something about who's writing this. Like, they didn't know what they were doing. They started off giving us like this search for his sister. I thought that's what the whole show was going to be about, was him searching for his sister. And then that little side job thing they did was just, as I said, a side job, more like maybe closer to a filler episode or whatever, showing that, maybe they would he'd find some information about his sister on this job or whatever. Who knows? Maybe his sister was on the job and he ends up finding her there. Who knows? I mean, nobody knew. Nobody.
Actually, the sister thing is quite an issue for them, because they start the show with him looking for his sister desperately, and she's like,
Yes.
like threatening this person and wants to get to know information and stuff. And the moment this whole thing with the guards happen, and he goes off planet with Luthen and does this other job. The moment he's free with the money before the jail thing, he doesn't go back to his quest of searching for his sister.
He goes around sleeping with women.
Yeah, he goes to have some vacation or something. Yeah, that's what he does.
That's not a joke.
Yeah.
I put it very bluntly, but well, the way it happened is he gets the money, he goes into hiding. The next time you see him, he's on this planet, getting out of bed with this woman laying like on him or next to him, and he's trying to stealthily do something. I don't know what he was trying to do. I guess he was throwing a bunch of money in a blaster in a box.
He was hiding like a stash of money and passport and a gun.
Oh, okay. So why he left it there, I don't know. Why he was able to get back there and get it later, I still don't understand, because there was people in the house when he went and got it. I don't understand that. Anyways, the next time you see him, he's in bed with some lady. And, that's the second time we've had, like, him going into places like a brothel, or him just, like, doing things that you wouldn't typically see in the Star Wars show.
The brother without actually stripping people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
that was incredibly stupid. I mean, I understand that you don't want that kind of stuff in Star Wars because of the younger audience. But if you are going to set up a scene in a place that has to look the part, and you can't use that theme then don't go with a brothel.
Let
Go with a
brothels
bar.
be brothels.
Yeah, if you're going to
Yeah,
show me a brothel, show me a brothel. If you can't show it to me because of whatever restriction, then don't go with a brothel. Go with a cantina or something like that.
exactly. Like, why did it have to be a brothel? You know, what the heck? Plus, like, it was very dead. You know, like the brothel didn't have
I'm
anybody in it.
I'm mad now. I'm really mad because I remember hearing all this about how this episode has a brothel or whatever. I was like, oh, and now it's like and people were talking about it like, oh, that was so spicy of them to do that. But now I'm like so disappointed that it's not really a
Yeah.
brothel.
No, you
Spicy.
got that's funny. Yeah,
The
you want to
amount
be
of
more.
spice.
You're
Oh
gonna
my
get more
god.
disappointed when you hear this, but you see more skin in the Boba Fett in the book of Boba Fett, the in the cantina this lady runs where he goes to pay his respects or whatever. You see that place looks more like a brothel than the one in Andor.
Wait, you mean the Twilight girl that comes
Yeah,
over to clean helmets and stuff? Yes, yeah. You see more skin on her than you see on anybody in the brothel. Isn't that weird?
That's embarrassing. I'm really
Not that I've been
disappointed.
to one and know what it's like, but you know, I wow, I'd
not that
probably
I'm
turn
an
myself
expert
into a
on it,
polar
but
bear because nobody will ever know. And even if I say no, nobody will believe me. Oh no. But anyways, the thing about it is like it didn't feel. I mean, of course people do it. Of course people go maybe sleeping around. It depends on the person, you know. But of course they do it. But it just don't feel like something you would see in Star Wars. But I'm not going to knock them for it. It wasn't any like graphic sex scene or something like that, which I would think is not a Star Warsy thing to do, and I wouldn't add that myself. But you know, at
I,
least it was tamer than what I was expecting.
it's not really a problem that it exists in any media, but the thing is, as you say, it's not Star Warsy because they don't use that resource when they tell their stories. So we are not used to seeing it like that, and it doesn't really need to be there.
Exactly.
It's like if you tell me that you can tell me that, well, why didn't you show a scene like that for Anakin and Padme? Yes, you could have. The opportunity was there because they were a couple, but we the audience didn't really need that, and you as a
Hmm.
storyteller don't need to show us that for this particular story.
And you know, the one thing now there'll be people defending it, saying that Padme and Anakin were in the same bed and he was shirtless. Like, yeah, but the thing is that the context of it, they were married. First of
Yeah,
all, second of all, um, they I doubt that they had just gotten done doing the deed. I mean, who knows? Maybe they like it that way. But I honestly don't think that's the case. I don't think George Lucas had the intent of doing that. I mean,
no, I don't think so.
they were married, so you know, he went, he did what any husband would probably want to do: sleep in the same bed as his wife is, you know. But then here's Andor, who's been in brothels, and he, you know, apparently goes around sleeping with random people that he doesn't know. See, that's the difference between Anakin and Padme. They knew each other. They've known each other for a long time. They got married. And then here's Andor with some random lady who just starts talking out of nowhere. She sounds like a dunce too. I don't know. She didn't seem like she was that smart. She was just
What
there.
kind of STDs do they have in Star Wars?
That's a good
That's a
question.
very interesting question. Yeah.
One I'm not entirely sure I want answered because, that would that would probably kill all the brain cells I have left in my brain.
It's one of
Because
those things where it's like both that they've got in some ways much more advanced medicine so that they could probably eradicate STDs if they wanted to, but also I don't know, there's so many of these different species, you've probably got all kinds of weird
True enough. True enough. But the weird thing is, we never had this conversation before until
Yeah,
Andor.
until Andor.
Did we need this conversation? No. Where did we get it? From Andor. A recent show. Like, Star Wars never made us think about that stuff before, but now it is. So I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, back to my opinion of the show. So after all that, it did have its moments. Uh, there was less moments that I would say were good than bad, but at least for me, especially near the end. But the finale was a pretty decent episode. I don't like everything that went down. I don't like how abrupt the mother got, or the foster mother, I guess, the one he considers mother at least, got sick and just died out of nowhere. There was really no lead up to it. They really should have made her seem sickly from the very beginning. Unless I'm missing something. Maybe they
Actually,
did.
I think it would have been cooler if she died doing something against the Empire. Like they
Instead
caught
of
her.
standing in front of the building.
Yeah, like they caught her doing something and sent her to jail, and by torturing they killed her, something like that. Because if you say like, oh yeah, she's supposed to be sick, but you don't see her like she's about to die, and then you hear like, oh yeah, she died. Yeah, how did she die? Oh no, she just died. It's
They
like,
don't give a reason. She just died.
yeah, yeah, she just
You
died.
know, I never thought about this until just now, and this has somewhat to do with it. But at her funeral, I forgot the droid's name, but Andor's droid buddy that just went into a depression mode for a
Yeah.
while and didn't want to do anything. Well, he was playing that hologram, and the Imperials like shut that thing off. Why the heck did the Imperial not shoot it and instead of trying to halfway cover it with his jacket?
Yes, yes,
Like
that was very stupid.
first of all, like the way he covered it with his jacket was terrible. Like he did a terrible job at doing it. It's as if he knew, or no. He read the script and said, halfway cover the droid with your jacket. And that's
Yeah,
the intent he had. You can see the intent he had. He didn't have the intent to cover it fully. No, he covers it halfway so the hologram still barely plays and finishes off what it was doing, which really bugs me. I saw that. I'm like, that don't seem right. Like, the guy didn't act
and
like he was trying to cover it
and
up.
it's a shame because it's not that I want the droid destroyed or anything, but shooting it's what an Imperial soldier would do. I mean,
Exactly.
it makes no sense that you're when they're told you your superiors are telling you to shut that thing up, and you're supposed to be this evil force that threatens everybody with violence whenever they don't comply, and you choose to go and try to cover it with some cloth. I mean, that makes no sense. You're supposed to display that aggressiveness, that arrogance, like, oh yeah, you start saying something I don't like, I'm gonna shoot you, because that's the point of the Empire.
And the worst thing, the hologram was telling them like how bad the Empire was and saying very bad things about the Empire.
And they let it run.
Yes, they
They,
let
they,
it go.
they took forever to shut it down.
They did. And the worst part, they wouldn't even have to like destroy the droid. If they wanted to like not exactly cause an uproar, but still like display their might, they could have just deactivated the droid using let's say some sort of stun weapon that, deactivates things. I don't know. They could have shot it with something that wouldn't destroy it, but just deactivate it. But in a way, I would actually rather them have it shot because, R2D2 got shot by Darth Vader in by a TIE fighter
Yeah.
in the first movie, and R2D2 is still around even in episode 9, barely in episode 9, but still there.
Barely, yeah.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show the droids can be repaired, but they needed to display their might instead of, let's do what the script says, halfway cover the droid, with the projector on the top. Let's just halfway do it.
And it's a shame that they missed that opportunity to end the scene with a bang, because the speech she gave was so cool. The way this old lady who's so helpless, she's telling everyone to rally up and beat the crap out of them because they are evil. the way she says the thing, I mean, you can totally tell that the actress really wanted that speech to be felt.
And she did a great job. The speech was amazing. But it just like it was just ruined by some minor things that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
I'm serious. The guy just read the script saying halfway cover the droid, and that's the intent he put into doing what he did. He didn't try to fully cover it. I mean, if it was me and I took my jacket off, I wouldn't have messed up that bad. I'm just saying, I wouldn't have messed up by halfway covering it. I would have actually covered it all the way. And I mean, another thing is if you're going to cover up the hologram, what's stopping it from playing the audio? The audio can be just as dangerous as the hologram itself. But when they
Yeah.
cover it halfway, how does that stop the audio? Why would you cover it with your jacket? If the
This is
droid
sounding dumber and dumber. Like the more you two are describing, like
Yeah.
actually, now that I've talked about it like this, I've went down one point in the show. This right here, this scene right here has sort of you know pulled down my score, which is odd. But it's such a nonsensical scene in my opinion because the way it was done. Just shoot the droid, and honestly, that would create a bit of an emotional like scene for Andor. He would have actually had something else to be a bit sad about and more reason to fight the Empire, you know? Give him something that makes him want to fight them more rather than just her dying of old age or something and then hearing her speech as they rally and all that. Who knows? I don't know. But she should have died fighting the Empire or doing something, maybe suicide bombing it. Who knows? I don't know. Instead of just walking up to the building every single day while she's sick and then going home like she accomplished something and then dies of old age. And, then everybody honoring her because she apparently was a true fighter. If that's all I had to do to protest and it make a difference, I would for sure be doing it. But that's not what it takes. You got with the Empire, you have to fight them. You have to with violence because that's the only thing they know. Well, at least that's what I thought.
So Guerrera would be so proud of you.
Well, Saw Gerrera was like one of the best parts of that show too. I liked Saw Gerrera. I'm glad they showed him in the show, but he didn't do much either.
Even though he didn't do anything.
No, he didn't do anything, but they didn't ruin his character, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
But that's the only way that things were going to get done. And I mean, they did end up rioting in the end, which was a cool scene. Like the whole thing was crazy. I was liking the build up. It's just that little nitpick with the droid. Like it could have been done so much better. All you had to do was shoot it. That's all you had to do. Give Andor another reason to hate the Empire. And then repair it. Have him in season 2 with like a bit of a repaired body, maybe a new paint job.
A lot of people were speculating that before the episode came out, they were speculating like, oh yeah, that droid's going to get into trouble and he's going to get shot and he's going to eventually become K2's memory bank or something. And I was like, okay, even if that doesn't happen, that sounds cooler than what we got.
Dang, I wish that happened. Actually, that's a better idea than what I had. Just remove the brain of the droid. Put it in a Imperial, whatever that kind of droid is, K2 droid of some sort. Just put it in one of those things, and boom, K2SO, which would have made the K2SO death in Rogue One that much more impactful. It hurt me already.
Yeah,
but that would add so much to that scene.
K2 made such an impact on some people, and I'm one of those that when I played Fallen Order and I encountered those droids, I didn't want to kill them.
I know.
Because I remembered K2. Yeah, it was like, oh my god, no, why do I have to stab you? I mean, I like you.
And the best part though, you can hack the droid and have it fight for you.
Yeah,
that's
I
the
always
best part.
Yeah, I did that a lot of times because I wanted like, oh yeah, he's my buddy, he's gonna fight with me.
And I like that they added that, but that's true. And if a character makes you feel that way, that means they did the character right. And K2SO was for sure one of the best droid characters that Disney has put out that I enjoy particularly. I can care less about BB-8, as adorable as he seems to be sometimes. I can care less about the other droid in Episode 9 that's got a wheel and a cone head. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. I can't stand that one. I can care less about those droids. I like
Well,
K2SO.
I bet your favorite
Yes.
is gotta be the activist droid Lando has in Solo.
That one we don't talk about.
Yes.
That one we don't talk about. I hate that droid with a passion. What was the droid's name? Uh
L33 something, I think.
L337.
I think something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah, I hated L3 so much. I couldn't even remember the droid's name. That's how much I hated the droid. And I really hate the fact that her like navigation thingy or whatever, her brain was put into the Millennium Falcon because that droid was so annoying. I was happy when it died. I was like, yes, yes, she's dead finally.
And I
not
hate
kidding.
that
I was
I
mad.
hated that they tried to make it look like, oh yeah, you know why the Millennium Falcon is so cool because it has hair brain and like, no, hell no, that's not why the Millennium Falcon is cool.
Not even close. And the best part is Han never mentions L337 ever again.
No,
So the fact that her brain's in there, he just doesn't care who it is. He just wants the navigational memory. He doesn't care. But
they were once trying to make these obscure connections, like saying that when R2 tries to hack the Millennium Falcon's computer and he kind of encounters a little bit of resistance because there's such a scene in, I think it's in episode 4, and they were saying, or episode 5, they were saying like, no, that's because this other droid's brain is interfering, and it's like, nah,
no.
she was never canon. That thing just got created for that movie.
Yep. Just for that movie. Never originally intended, and honestly, I'm glad. Uh, but anyways, let me get back to my final thoughts on Andor because
Did you all know Solo lost money, by the way?
yes, we knew that, and I didn't watch it in theaters. I was part of that. I did not want to watch it. I
Me
was not
neither.
looking forward to it, and I'm honestly glad I didn't spend money on it when I watched. When I
I
originally,
stopped spending money on Star Wars after The Last Jedi.
I don't blame you. The Last Jedi, like I enjoyed it the first time around, but I didn't. I was like blinded by the nostalgia of it all and everything. Seeing Luke again, I was blinded by all that. I watched it a second time, started seeing it a little bit, and like, okay, I don't like it as much. I watched a bunch of stuff on the internet, watched it again, and ever since then, I just can't stomach watching the movie. It makes
And,
me
and,
physically want to
and
puke.
the funny thing is, I didn't really hate it. It's not like I walked out of the theater wanting to die or something, but I felt like, you know what, you don't deserve my support. That's the moment it clicked on me, and it was like, no spending money on any of your productions ever again. Even
Yeah.
for the Mandalorian and all that stuff. I mean, I watched them in an unnatural way, to quote Palpatine,
You
but
watch them in an ethical way.
in an ethical, yeah.
Ethical way. There you go. That's the best. That's the best way to put it. But yeah, that's sort of what current Star Wars, especially like the live action stuff, has really led us to is that we don't want to support it as much as we used to, and that goes without saying, of course. But my final thoughts on Andor is just it was okay. Not my favorite show. Probably won't watch every single episode all the way through a second time. Probably don't have a particular episode I want to watch unless I want to analyze it, but I don't really feel like doing that, especially since it doesn't interest me that much. So I'm giving it a 6 out of 10, which is odd because usually I'm the more optimistic one in giving the higher ratings, but here's Chrono with a 7.5 and then me with a
I
6.
I know the real reason you gave it such a low grade, and you didn't mention it. You're afraid of getting canceled.
Hey, look, look.
You did that because of Cinta.
No, not at all. I do not do that kind of thing. I totally am not racist.
You felt threatened by such an empowered lesbian who did nothing all the season.
Oh, that too. That too. That too. I was thinking more of a racist thing, but
No.
the uninteresting lesbians, I completely forgot about them.
Yeah, that's how interesting she is.
She did absolutely nothing for the entirety of the show. Stabs a guy once. And then, oh no, the other overprotective one. Is that your blood on your hands? No, that's somebody else's blood. What? You stabbed a guy? Yes, I did. The other one really had no emotion. The other one did and was overprotective. The other one, what was her name again? Cinta or something like that. She had no emotion. She didn't act like she cared about anything the entire time. she she just stone cold didn't give a. I don't know. She didn't give any reactions.
And she failed miserably at her mission because she stared at the door of Andor's house, of Marva's house, all season since she got to the planet. She stared at the door every single episode, and she didn't notice the moment he actually walked in.
I know, right? She was gone.
Worst
Oh my
spy
goodness.
ever.
Yep, worst spy ever. And I hope they do not reappear in the next series or next season because they were the least interesting part of this season. Give us something that's actually interesting.
I would rather have the heist go in a different way and keep the kid instead of her.
Yes.
The kid was cool. I thought he was going to stick for. I mean, I knew the moment he started to talk about the manifest, I'm like, oh, you're going to die. But but he was cool. I mean, I like the character.
He was what I imagined a true rebel would be like, Somebody that actually cared about the cause. And then the other people are just, they don't care about nothing but themselves. One of them's just angry all the time and overprotective for the other person. One of them doesn't really say anything. They just have this uninterested look on their face the entire time. They don't react to anything. And the other one is just out to kill everybody and take all the money. Like, what kind of rebellion is this? There's no teamwork. There's no love for anybody. But the kid, he showed uh, all the qualities I would imagine a true rebel would have. They had a true love for the cause that they were fighting for, and they were there to help people. But no, no, the other ones they decide, nah, let's not care about anybody else. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, my final thoughts. Not the best show in the world, not the worst show. If I had a gun to my head and somebody wanted me to watch either the Book of Boba Fett or Andor again, I'd probably watch Andor just because it doesn't kill off one of my favorite characters ever of all time. If it wasn't for that, I would have watched the Book of Boba Fett over Andor because at least in the Book of Boba Fett there was action and it kept me somewhat interested with some of the things. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Andor, and I think we're gonna leave Andor in the dust now because we've spent longer than I thought we would on Andor. It is time we talk about the Bad Batch season 2 and what you guys thought about how it started off. I think we already got into this a little bit, and I know Commander Tano actually watched this one because she was talking about it. So this time, since she did watch it, we're going to actually start off with her opinions. She did give a little bit, but I want you to go a little more in depth of what you thought. Maybe is this a promising start to the season? Stuff like that. So go ahead, Commander Tano. It's your turn.
I mean, sure, I think it is. Like I said, I am, it's a weird experience where it's like I enjoyed what I saw, um, but there's just like this cloud kind of hanging over me that just I it's like I almost like am trying to keep myself from enjoying it on some level until I actually know where it ends up. um, so that
Valid.
I,
That's a valid feeling.
but if if we were in this universe where I knew that this series were drawn to a good resolution, then yes, I would say yes. I enjoyed this. You know, and like you've said, I kind of they do better. It would be kind of nice, I think, if they would just stick with animated Star Wars and that's it. Because yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think honestly of anything else in particular. I have to say, I enjoy like kind of what I one thing I liked about the second episode was I like that they kind of they find ways to continue to bring up like that Omega's a kid, but also she's kind of like a really strange she's a really strange kid where like that moment with that old guy in the like living in the forest or a cave or whatever he was living in. um there's that moment where he handed her like this little kaleidoscope and she's like, oh, what's this? Is this jewels or a weapon? Or and he's like, no, it's just for fun. It's a toy, like, just to have fun. Like, and she just doesn't know what that is. And so that was, I like stuff like that.
I did too. I really enjoyed that. It just shows how sheltered from like what the world really is she was because she's been locked up on Camino all her life. And they
she's
didn't give
kind
her
of
anything like that.
she's kind of like the Rapunzel of Star Wars. She
Yeah,
like
I
I can
agree.
see that. I agree with that completely.
and I mean that as a compliment. And I mean that similarly as like some people like with Star Wars Rebels were like, oh, Ezra's like space Aladdin. I was like, I'd agree, and it's kind of,
Space
and I
Oddity.
and I'd say it's kind of a compliment too, because Aladdin's great. It's an awesome movie. I enjoyed like I enjoyed this Rebel season 2 finale. How much of the Aladdin kind of ness of it, especially
Yeah.
the part where Maul is where Ezra has the holocron and Maul is about to trying to kind of pull him up, and it's like one of those like throw me the lamp almost kind of moments I
Oh
thought it
Yes.
was going
gosh.
to turn into.
Dang, now I'm going to see that every single time I watch
It
that.
was he was like Jafar in that, and I was like thinking he's going to say like throw me the
Oh
lamp, and then he's going
no.
to like drop him, but he didn't, which was
I,
kind
I
of
No.
I knew I wasn't the only one who felt that way. Now you're confirming it. Thank you.
No, I see it now. And I've watched that so many times and I never thought about it, but when you say that, I see it.
it was.
And oh no.
Well, that's why I liked it because I had that expectation for that moment. I was like, oh, darn, like he's gonna ask like throw me the lamp, and Ezra's gonna be like no, and he's gonna just drop him, and I thought that was where he was gonna go because him being Maul, but he didn't, and so that's
I
what
do
made his
like that.
character so interesting at that point in that show.
I do
Was
like
that
that. That brings a whole new perspective to it. I like that.
yeah? So it's
Huh.
that's what I'd wish they'd explored further with Rebels. Like it was kind of just really weird to see because the last time we'd seen Maul, he was like doing child murder, basically, and to go from that to being like kind of being this weird
Space Jafar.
mentor figure, it was just weird, and so it was kind of interesting. But yeah, anyways, but yeah. Omega is definitely like the Rapunzel of Star Wars.
I could see that. I like that. She's been sheltered all her life and kept away from the world. Doesn't know anything about it. Only what she's been told. Only what she may be viewed through a view screen or something like that. So it's really odd for her to see a toy and think that it's something for enjoyment rather than some sort of tool or weapon or something of great value.
And she craves adventure because she in that way she's a lot like Rapunzel because these are women who you would think like, okay, I want to see the outside world, but which part of the outside world? And in both cases, they want adventure, they want danger, they want to experience something cool. It's very interesting to see that that's where they go once they are out of the shell.
Hmm.
Yep, agreed.
I I also like and what I like, for instance, about what's interesting with like how Disney did Rapunzel Entangled is she's she's like, because of her sheltered life, she's both very competent in certain areas, but also very like naive in others. It
Mm-hmm.
isn't like that she's straightforward, just naive or just she's not a Mary Sue. Like there's some areas where she's very competent, but areas of just like she does not have like the emotional intelligence or kind of savvy because of how she was raised. It's kind of similar with Omega in a way that she's like on the one hand like a very competent, mature kid in some ways, but also not in others because she just had this really strange upbringing. Um, so yeah,
Yep.
I like that, and I like that part of the show.
That's that's one of my favorite parts. The other thing was like how much we got of tech. I like what they did with
Yes.
tech. It's really
Yes.
nice. Like he made a friend that was
Mm.
on a separatist world, and they got along really well together. And I'm so sad that it's like it came to an end. I wanted to see more of that character. I like him. Did
You
he ever
wanted
give
more.
his name?
Oh.
I don't
I
think
don't
he ever
think
did.
he gave his name. And another thing I liked a lot about that scene was the moment he tells him like, "Oh, I never knew like I could the this could come from a separatist," and he says Selenium, and it
Yep.
hits him like, "Oh yeah, you're not just a separatist." And the look on Tech's face when he realizes like, yeah, you're not just the enemy, you're people too.
Yeah, he never thought about it like that.
Yeah,
And it's so cool to see that little progression in his way of thinking as well.
yeah.
Because he's as smart as he sometimes fails to think of what would be sort of obvious. Because I mean they they are people too. They may have been on the opposite side, but you can't just look at them as just separatists. You got to look at them as people too. And he never thought to do that.
And it's a very interesting thing that they show it because that is so real in the real world that war
Mm-hmm.
does that to people. I mean, whenever you're on one side of any war, you can't stop thinking about the other side as your enemy because they are the ones shooting at you, trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way you can cope as a combatant, as a soldier, is that you have to justify in your head that I need to kill them before they kill me. But the reality
Mm-hmm.
is, a lot of people get tangled in war that are not even fighting and they don't even care. They don't want to fight you.
Exactly. They're all people, and they all have their own views. They may not like the person that's ruling over them, and they may not agree with how they're being ruled over or the views of the leader. They may not agree with any of that stuff. So you also got to look at it like that, because not even though they live on a enemy planet in this case, doesn't mean that they are your enemy. And they did exist before the war had started anyways, and he never thought about it like that. And I really liked that little uh conversation between them two. I liked how the chemistry between them uh kicked off as well, because they seem to get along quite well. And I
Yeah.
really like how he came to Tech's aid at the end. Honestly, well, I'll save this for my part. I'm talking way too much. Keep going.
Yes, please don't let us interrupt.
uh, yeah, go ahead. Hurry.
Oh,
before I say more things.
uh, well, I'm I'm trying to think. Like, actually, I'm going to say one thing, and this is completely not related to Bad Batch, but I just was reading on Wikipedia about Andor, so I didn't realize this. Apparently, they had originally had plans for the series to last 5 seasons, but now it's just expected to last for 3. And someone said original 5 season plan was deemed to be quote physically impossible due to the series scale, and instead they realized they could end the series with one more season that led directly to the. Oh wait, are they just saying 2 seasons now?
Yeah, the latest news is that there's
Oh,
going to be only 2.
no more.
That
Yes.
No
oh
more.
that I love how the excuses they're saying physically impossible due to the series scale. No, it's like if
Translation money.
that's the thing is is that and that's the thing is that you can tell at least from how you two were describing how they wrote it that there are all these kind of loose ends and lots of these subplots that didn't necessarily get resolved. They probably were writing it to be 5 seasons, and that's in part why. But instead, they because no one was watching it, now they're just kind of like to save face. Well, because they'd already started back in last year filming season 2, they're now gonna have to crunch all of that into that one. Um,
That could actually work in the audience's favor because that means it won't be a slow burn.
That's true.
maybe,
They won't have the
maybe,
time.
although it could be more of a mess.
Well, that's
True.
also true. They could pull a Book of Boba Fett trying to do too much all at once.
I think that's probably gonna happen.
It, it bugs me that somebody actually thought that could last for 5 seasons because
Mm-mm.
regardless whether you like the show or not, the theme, the stuff you're trying to explore with these characters, that doesn't give you enough for 5 seasons. That it just doesn't.
It's like
Not
maybe
unless you
they
drag out the story.
It's like
But
maybe
Yeah.
they envisioned doing some kind of like Game of Thrones or something for Star Wars, and that was their attempt at it. But then they got the rug pulled out from under them, and now they're stuck with wrapping it up now.
what? Well, if that was the case, if they really wanted to pull a Game of Thrones, they should have done instead of the movie trilogy that we got from them. They should have just turned that into a show,
Yes.
and that could have maybe worked out better.
And they'd have to throw in real brothels.
Maybe let's leave some of the incest out of it. Okay, we don't want that either.
I mean, they got close to it once upon a time in Star Wars.
Yeah.
True, true, true. I guess I can't say too much because
But
we
seriously,
did.
it kind of sounds like from what's been described is it's like, and it's like when I hear some of the headlines like, oh, they're doing a Star Wars show with brothels. It's like it sounds like, oh, they're trying to do like a little, and it's like, oh, this is darker and grittier, and this is different, and it's like sometimes it sounds like, oh, they're trying to do with all these kind of subplots and things. They're trying to do like some Game of Thrones for Star Wars, except they're failing at it because it's like, no, if you're gonna do that, you need to go all in. You need to have real brothels. You need to show stuff.
Yeah.
You need to like go if you're gonna do that to try and get the for like I guess not clickbait, but you know what I mean, like to get kind of
Mhm.
the kind of like ooh like spectacle kind of views like that. Then go all in for it. Don't do this little halfway sort of thing. But it's like they want kind of the credit for being, ooh, look how kind of racy we're being with Star Wars, but they're not actually doing it.
This is a common theme currently in Hollywood and in entertainment in general.
Yeah.
They want to get the reaction out of you, but they don't want to work for it. They just want to tease you enough so that you will get there on your own whenever you see some cheap version of what they promised, but it doesn't work like that. I mean, hype can only give you so much. The rest of the work has to be done. You can expect people like, oh yeah, it's Star Wars, and it has some of it has a dark tone. Oh yeah, this is like Game of Thrones. No, people are not going to get to that conclusion on their own. You need to actually show them the stuff.
Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, they really like if they really want to pull something dark like that, then they really need to not bring it out in one of these types of shows, but do like a full on R-rated type of show for Star Wars specifically, because like and advertise it as something like that, so parents aren't letting their kids just go and watch
Yeah.
something that could be
and
R-rated for
and
them.
that's the thing, they never will, because they always tie themselves up with the merchandising aspect. They want like, oh
Yes.
yeah, we need to do this in a way that we can sell these toys to these kids. And it's like, yeah, but if you do the show thinking about the toys, then there are a lot of things you cannot do.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You can't release like a little like an Andor brothel playset.
Yeah, no.
Oh gosh, I'd hate to imagine the figurines that come with that.
I would buy the Lego version of them.
The funny thing is, I was thinking about that very thing about what if they did it for Lego as well. Oh gosh, adult play sets. Just both companies come up with like their adult line of merchandising. I mean,
Yeah.
they could, if they wanted to, they could technically do that, but they're not going to because they want to sell to kids, which they seem to think Star Wars is mainly for kids. When I don't honestly think that that's the case. And I mean, with Andor, we know that's not the case because they added a lot of darker, more mature themes in Andor than you would see in a normal kids show.
Andor has no appeal for toys. I mean, there's no way
No,
you can sell a toy line from Andor. I mean, what kid would like an Andor action figure? He's so generic as a character.
I don't know. I sort of want to buy a two set of the uninteresting lesbians and it be actually called the uninteresting lesbian duo on the box.
That would. Can you imagine if they had that label on the box, like just
They'd
uninteresting
probably
lesbian duo?
they'd probably get canceled so hard, but
People
I
would
would buy
buy
it.
that. People would buy that just for if they labeled the box that like. I would go
I
and buy that.
I would have
Yeah,
too. I really would have, and
I would get
I would
to.
display it. You know what? I'm going to trademark that name, so if they do use it, I get paid for
You should.
it. However unlikely it may be, it would be nice. But I mean, honestly, they probably can't do a kids toy line on Andor. They could do figurines for it and stuff like that for like collectibles or Black Series type of things, but that's only for people that actually care. And
Yeah.
as we were sort of talking about, and since my best example right now is Commander Tano, due to the fact that she hasn't watched it. I'm just going to keep using you as an example for this one. You know, she hasn't watched it. She wasn't interested enough to watch it, and we've talked about in past streams how not many people were talking about it as much. And,
When was it released?
I can't remember.
When was the first episode released? It's gonna bother me. I need to
It
find
was
this out.
October, I think.
I
Let's
think you're
see.
right.
Oh,
I
original
think it-
release September 21, 2020. Okay, yeah. So yeah, that
Oh.
October release.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna give an excuse like, oh, I was taking the bar then, but no, I can't say that. So
No, now it's just that it was uninteresting, just like the lesbians. Oh gosh. Look, somebody's going to watch these videos and like they're or these streams, they're going to hear me call them the uninteresting lesbian duo like multiple times, and they're just going to think I am so uh homophobic.
that's honestly though, of all the things you've said and done, it's pretty tame though.
Yeah.
I think you're
Look,
safe.
look
You
at
think
the
I'm
bright
safe?
side. Look at the bright side. If someone makes a video editing all the times you complained about the uninteresting lesbians and puts it on Twitter, the channel will go viral.
The thing
I
is,
bet they'll be like,
you're not saying they're scary. You're just saying they're boring.
they are boring. I don't know who in the world would think they're not. You got to be insane to think that they had some sort of gripping story arc that you just couldn't look away from the screen to get to get enough information about. Like there was nothing about their relationship. There was nothing about the story they were in or telling or they were trying to tell us about them that made me look at it and be like, huh, I don't want to look away from the screen. I want to see what's going to happen to these characters. I've watched better kids shows that gave me more of a like. I, I don't know if you guys might know the original, not the original, the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show right there had made me more interested throughout the entirety of the show than Andor made me in their little story arc, and that's sad because it's a kids show, and this is a more adult oriented show, one that's supposed to cater more to what I enjoy, which is darker themes, more mature themes in a show. I like seeing those
Yeah.
more mature themes in shows
Yeah,
sometimes.
but you're missing one point here.
Okay.
TMNT in any of their shows, TMNT has heart at its core. It's always a story about a family coming together and facing evil and whatever.
That is
Meanwhile,
true.
Andor, while good production and whatever we want positive we want to say about it, Andor was meant for political themes. That's what makes it boring so many times. It's meant
Mm-hmm.
to show you the riot because the power to the people. It means to show you that women like Dedra are in positions of power. It means to show you that immigrants like Andor have rights and they shouldn't be persecuted. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
themes. And the problem with that, when you play into that too hard, you miss the mark and you end up making it boring for everybody. Like for example, you're saying this woman and the other, they are like boring lesbians. Yes, they are, because the only thing we know about them or we care is that they are lesbians. Their entire stories are not explored. The only thing we know about
Nope.
the blonde woman is that she's related to Mon Mothma, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing we know about Cinta is that she's like kind of like the enforcer or the spy, and she stared at the door for how many episodes and did nothing. It's like, then how else should I refer to someone like that? That cannot be entertaining for anybody.
The worst thing is that was like the second time they've introduced lesbians, and they failed at doing it. The second time they sort of, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how you
I
can
forgot about
exactly.
those other boring lesbians.
Yeah, the ones that, I mean, they failed at character development for the other two. And the weird thing is, like, there was no build up to them. They were just randomly kissing in the background of the last Star Wars movie they did. But one of them had a lot of screen time, and she was just annoying and boring. Like, she didn't do anything. She was just there being Captain Obvious, if I remember right, just telling us things that we probably already knew.
I don't even remember that she was so boring.
Yeah, exactly. So they failed twice. Like, you might as well stop if you're going to fail at it. That you're not doing them any favors by creating like this trope of uninteresting, uh, homosexual characters. Just stop it. Get it right or stop it. Either one. You're not doing them any
And
favors
yeah,
with it.
you can do it. I mean, do we have a problem with homosexual characters in Star Wars or any other franchise? No, we don't. But I am not going to pretend I like a character I know nothing about and that does nothing in the entire show. I mean, it's like, why do I like this person? What makes me like this character? Give me something to work with. I can't just like him or her because they're gay. That makes no sense.
Honestly, we need to add boring lesbian to
Yeah.
tvtropes.org and just
Yeah.
that, yeah,
Yeah,
that
put
needs to be a
Andor on it.
thing.
That has to be the
Like,
top suggestion for that trope. Um, the worst thing is they tried to give them a touching scene at the end of Andor. The overprotective, clingy one tells her to stop working, basically turn around and come over here, and then it cuts off. That's all we get. That's the
Yeah.
only scene we get where the most uninteresting one decides to be in the very bit least emotional. She was getting into it, I guess, as much as she was for the kind of acting she was doing. But if they had played that scene out further, we probably would have actually gotten some emotion out of her, and that's something we didn't get anyways. So I don't know. They failed lesbian characters in yet another Star Wars production. That's the second time. Don't make it a third. Because
I'm, ge-
go ahead.
I'm guessing the next time they might probably try this is going to be the Ahsoka show.
That's yeah. They'll probably try it again there. But with
I,
who, I
I,
don't know.
I don't know with who. I certainly hope they don't try to
oh
make
dear.
Ahsoka lesbian, but if they do it with some other characters, it's not a problem as long as they do it right. Make us care about these characters.
Yeah, make us care. I want to care about a character. I don't want to look at them and say, why are they here? That's the worst thing that you can do to a character. For somebody like myself that likes to create original characters, and for somebody that likes to create stories with those characters, because I do that kind of thing a lot. I draw out my characters. I like to give them backstories. I want to give a reason for why I should care about that character when I'm writing or thinking or whatever about that character. I want a reason to care about them, and I want other people, like if I do share what I've created, I want other people to feel the same way I do. Though I might have more of a artistic mentality than other people, because some other people they have more of a political mentality than I do. Frankly, I just say I don't care about politics much anymore. They're too confusing and annoying. But um, you know, what happened to the artist caring about the characters they create? And if the artist did care, then it would show through the work that they put into it. But
Yeah.
that's
You
just
should
coming
you
from.
sh- you should write your next characters should be interesting lesbian to show them how
Interesting
it's done.
lesbians.
To show them how it's done. Yeah.
Hey, don't tempt me. I can write an interesting lesbian, and I'm not even a girl.
This this ten- I'm so sorry. But what was I gonna say? Darn, I lost the thought. Oh, one thing I'd noticed, thank you all. You all kind of pointed. I hadn't realized before that, like, it's like Disney has a thing with they do boring lesbians, but for gay men, they tend to make them like either really annoying or goofy or
Yes.
um and they always do that.
Or
Um
overly sassy,
yeah, and I put and
which
I
plays
kind of
into the comedy
yeah,
aspect.
and I put that into the comedy or
Okay.
annoying or that yeah, it's like they all of us yeah, that certain type. It's just kind of interesting that they aren't actually they aren't really all that original when they do those characters. It's either the really kind of annoying, sassy gay man, or for the lesbians, it's always they're they're boring. They're like
Now I can't remember his name, but if you guys have watched Cruella, right?
I haven't actually. I've
No,
heard
I didn't watch that one.
Okay.
I know what it's about, but
yeah.
I didn't watch.
Okay, there's a gay dude in that one. And I actually like for somebody that, wasn't expecting much out of it, I actually enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed the interactions with that character and I was hoping nothing bad would happen to that character. That's one example. If you haven't watched Cruella, I
Okay.
enjoyed it. You
Okay.
should you should at least give it a try.
Duly noted.
Um which mind you, I it's been a very long time since I watched the original 101 Dalmatians. So maybe if I had rewatched those movies beforehand, I might have sang a different tune about their handling of Cruella. I think they did a pretty good job with it, but that's me. And I went and watched it in theaters with my sister. I'm getting off topic, but anyways, so that movie, and you guys have watched Jungle Cruise, right?
Nope.
No.
Jungle Cruise, you haven't watched that with The Rock? Okay, that one was a pretty decent movie, and the main character's brother is also gay, and which they don't go out and say it, but I actually cared about his character. He was sort of the how do I explain his character? He was a pretty interesting character. He was sort of like I want to say he was the kind of person that okay, so they're going on a cruise in a tiny boat and he brings a bunch of luggage that calling it necessities when it's not all necessities. He's that kind of person, okay? Yeah, if that
Got
explains
it.
anything. So, he's like that for almost the entirety of the movie, but he's like he has his own character arc of where he's changing slightly over the course of the movie, becoming less of a coward, I guess, and a little bit braver, a little more outspoken about what he thinks. And by the end of the movie, he does, he's not as nervous when speaking in front of people. He's like very confident. They do a really good job with this character, and I enjoyed this character quite a bit. Uh, those are just two examples of how you can do it right.
Well, that's good to know because I haven't seen either of them.
Well,
Yeah, I
okay,
haven't.
the one in Cruella, I liked him, but like I don't know if like it's the best example because
Hmm.
he does fall into that sassy kind of you know category. The other one is just sort of nervous and out of his element.
Right, right. Yeah.
That's what I get out of his character. But the one from Cruella does fall into that little stereotype. But I liked his character, so it might work. Then again, it might not work for everybody. I don't know. I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
Yeah,
I
like
think
what
Yeah, go ahead.
well, I was gonna say my example of like, kind of what Disney does and like the live action Beauty and the Beast. So, and
Oh
I
yeah.
Oh
actually
no,
uh,
I know what you're
and,
talking about.
and I'll say this, you know, I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of their live action ones, but obviously they tend to be like compared to the originals. That was probably one of the ones I liked better out of all the live action ones they did.
I
But
agree.
I but it's like I'm kind of thought it really funny that people were kind of thinking that LeFou was like this like victory of inclusion because I'm like, do you really want to be represented by LeFou? Like, and that's the thing. I actually kind of it wasn't that it felt out of place. Ironically, I was like, yeah, I could even in the animated one. I'm like, yeah, with how much LeFou is obsessing over this guy, yeah, I buy it. Like, I buy that he's into him, but I'm just like, it's like, do you really think that? Are you really celebrating that? Like that? Oh yay, we get to be LeFou. It's like, okay. I mean, if you like, okay, if you think that's great, then good for you, but I would not. I would not. If I wanted to be represented by a character in a Disney movie, call me crazy, but LeFou would not be at the top of my list,
No,
or any
No,
character like that.
no, I completely agree with you. He's sort of a dunce, sort of a can't do anything right. I don't want to be represented by something like that, but
and you can do the reason we mock them so much is because you can do this right. I mean, this narrative about not wanting representation or whatever, this is just BS. There are shows and movies with interesting gay and lesbian characters. I always use, to me, my top example of this is Klaus in the Umbrella Academy. The guy is gay, and he's super gay through the entire show, and he's super relatable as a person. I mean, the first thing you think about him is not that he is gay, is that he's a human being. You see him suffer, you see him being an ass, you see him being incredibly stupid sometimes. You see him trying to crawl out of this hole of misery that he's in. You empathize with him, you want him to be happy, and you're not constantly beaten in the head with like, oh, he's gay, he's gay, he's gay. Yes, he is, but that's not what defines him. He's a person, and that's the part you connect with, not his sexuality.
and that's exactly what Andor did wrong, because they had to knock us in the head 100 times telling us that they're gay.
Yeah.
That's that, and there's one other example that's in my head because I watched a movie on Netflix, probably a mistake, because I mean the movie was interesting, but it had gay characters in it, and they were cool at first, and then all of a sudden they had to make sure that you knew that they were gay. Like, they constantly expressed the amount of gayness they had for each other, and I'm like, I get it, you guys are gay, I get it. You don't have to start making out in front of your enemies just to show us that you're gay and show them that you're gay. I mean, you don't have to do that. We get it. It was too much, in my opinion, because they were captured by these people and being tortured. And I think one of the enemies said something about them being gay, and then he starts going on about how he loves his man, and I think where they're right next to each other, they begin making out in front of him. I'm like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to. It's okay. We understand that you love this man. But that's when I can't stand when they add the characters in, because they knock you over the head. Hey, they're gay. They're gay. Here you go.
And
I don't need to.
Which movie is this?
I think it's called The Old Guard.
Oh, I know. I saw it. Yeah, I know
You
the
know
scene.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. That scene was so stupid.
I gotta look this up now.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not misinterpreting it. Like, I'm glad I'm not the only one that sees it like this, because it's been a very long time since I watched it, and that's how I remember it. But
I mean, yeah,
that wasn't exaggerating.
What they were going for was to like show these two people who have lived hundreds of years, saying like, oh, this part of that you're so confused about it means nothing to us. Okay, yeah, I get it. But the fact that they are lying there captured, about to die and stuff, and they start kissing, and it's like, are you kidding me? Why would you do this? This looks really stupid.
Like, aren't they're supposed to be immortal? Was there a reason why they were about to die, like, not immortal anymore? I can't remember.
They were kind of implying that they kind of could kill them or something. I don't know. They were just messing around with the enemies, like it was like a trope of, oh, we know you're going to be uncomfortable with this, and we're going to take this chance to do something. It was very stupid.
Oh gosh, yeah, that movie was the perfect example of what not to do. Okay,
and on the contrary, the another good example of what to do is if you watch Stranger Things, the last season. That one had the whole thing with Will, and that
Hmm.
was so well done because yes, we know since a couple of seasons before, we know that he's probably going to turn out gay, but the way they handle his process of understanding what he is, and he's a background character, he's not even a main character in this season, but the few scenes he gets, they show him like struggling with the realization that okay, I am gay, but I cannot just openly work this because it's the 80s and he would have been mocked and ridiculed and called names and whatever. And also the fact that he's so afraid to be rejected by his friend if he finds out that the way they played that out, that makes us care about Will. It's not like, oh yeah, Will's gay. No, it's the fact that you care about Will as a person. You don't want him to be hurt. You understand where he's coming from.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't need to hit us over the head 100 times to tell us anything. You just got to build it up. You got to do it right.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I think we got off of the topic of the Bad Batch a little bit, maybe. But
Thanks to the
is
boring
there?
lesbian.
Yeah, yeah. We really went into the boring lesbians again. Um, you know, in a way, it's sort of weird. The most uninteresting characters are the ones that we're talking about the most,
Yes,
which
it
might also
is.
say something about the characters of Andor. Oh, I better shut up before we go any further into Andor. Okay. Any more you want to say about the Bad Batch there, Commander Tano?
No, that's it for now.
Okay. Chrono, what do you think about
Okay.
the Bad Batch?
Well, I enjoyed these two episodes, this arc. As I said earlier, I really enjoyed the things with Tech this time. They usually don't give Tech a chance to shine. He's usually the trope about the guy who knows technology and science and whatever, and that's his whole thing. But this time
Hmm.
we saw him interact with this old guy, and we saw him kind of understanding that they are people too, that they're not just the enemy. And I really appreciated that. I also like that they showed him as a soldier a bit more because he was injured and he still managed to give Omega and Echo an advantage by knocking out one guy and fighting with the other. Even before the old man came back to help him, he was doing fine on his own with a broken leg and hurting. That we don't really see much of him as a warrior, and I think that was cool because you gotta wonder. I mean, well, you gotta think this unit is made of um, sure rejected clones or whatever, but they are super efficient in what they do. So we
Hmm.
know that he's supposed to be capable, and we are finally seeing this in action.
The worst part, I was going to save
Mm.
this for my turn, but the best part, sorry. Uh, or no, let me put it this way. One of the things that had me worried in that scene was because the way they had played the scene out, it sort of made it look as though Tech was about to do like this final stand, then get killed
Yes,
type of deal. I was worried.
Yes.
I
yes, I
was
was
so
worried too.
worried. I was like, not Tech. Tech would be the one to do it too. That's the thing. The one guy that you wouldn't think would have a chance against a big group of people or do the sacrifice thing. That's the guy that does it, and that was Tech. And
Yeah,
I really do like Tech. Like I didn't like him as much before, but after watching, the first season and then the beginning of this season, you know, I've started to warm up to Tech a lot. And that was worrying me so much because he was being shot at from two different directions and he couldn't peek out at all to do anything.
yeah,
I was so worried. I just want to say that. I just want to say that. That's
yeah.
been on my brain the entire time. I just want to say it. Go ahead.
No, no, it's okay that you said it because it's so true. I mean, we were probably all worried about tech. I mean, at least the ones who care about tech. But yeah,
Yeah.
it looked like for a moment there, like, yeah, he might bite the dust, but he didn't, and I think that's a smart move to not kill off characters in the first episodes. Uh,
Yes.
Yeah.
because I also felt this tension when in season one when Wrecker's chip activated. I was like, no, please don't tell me you're going to kill him because of this. And I love his character.
Wrecker is so good.
So yeah, I got this feeling again with Tech, and I was like, no, please don't do it. You can't kill any one of them because whoever you kill, we're going to miss, and the season won't work. They are family.
Dang it, that also makes a great discussion for how we care about these characters more than the ones in Andor. Like, you don't want to see any of them gone. There was only
Yeah,
one
no.
character in Andor I didn't want to see gone, and that was the kid. I can care less about anybody else. Okay,
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah. In the Bad Batch, you care about most of them. I mean, you care about the main characters, the clones and Omega, and even the side characters. I mean, like for example, we saw very little of this old man, and we don't even know his name. But I would have been sad if he got shot.
Yeah, I know, right? Look, my mom was watching it with me, and she's like, "That old man's not going to die, right?" And
Yeah,
I hadn't watched the episode yet. This was my first time watching it. I'm like, I hope not. But like, my mom likes to get into these as well. She's like, I don't want him to die. He's awesome. I love him. And we don't even know anything about this character. That
yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's
Yeah,
all I'm gonna
this
say.
they really know how to pull those heartstrings with some character. You can tell who is making which show because the animated shows always give us that. They always give
Hmm.
us a lot of emotional moments, a lot of things to care for, and I see more of the. I mean, as a start of this new season, I see potential. The only problem I see with these two episodes is that they have nothing new to offer. This is like an episode you could have watched in the previous season, and it feels so generic as a mission. Like, oh yeah, we did a mission, it didn't go as planned, we worked it out, we got out, we leave, we will have another mission next week. And I don't think they should be doing that much of this anymore because they already gave us a whole season of that. They
Well, I
need to
think that's
forward the story.
I think that's why they started off the season the way they did, because Sid was already talking about how her operation probably won't last forever, and that's what this whole mission was about, was getting money in order to you know, I guess survive without doing these types of jobs all the time. I think they're alluding to doing something like that, like
Yeah.
I think it was necessary to start off like this since they left off like this, but I'm thinking that this is one of the last missions that we'll see them do for Sid. Maybe
Yeah,
one
that
more, I don't know, but
Yeah, that's my point. I mean, if it's not that I didn't like it that way, but I don't want to see a lot more of the. I don't want to see a whole season of more missions like this. They
I
need to
agree.
really move forward. They need to
I agree.
start doing different things. Omega is different now. She's not as helpless as she was in season one. She's a part of the team, an active part of the team,
Mhm.
and yeah, things are moving along in the galaxy. The Empire won't overlook them for too long. And even if this Imperial officer is trying to hide the fact that they survived, they will eventually catch up to them and they will know. Because, for example, I don't see Crosshair forgetting the fact that they still live. And if he is
Mhm.
truly an Imperial at heart now, he will eventually have to go after them. So
Mhm.
this idea of them holding up in this spaceport, doing odd jobs, that has to go. We can't have more of that. We really
Mhm.
need a different direction for this show so that it gets more interesting because it's not that it's bad, it's just that it can't stay the same forever.
And I think
Hmm.
because Echo is constantly talking about how they need to be doing more, I think his point's going to be made very valid pretty soon. Something's going to happen, and he's going to be like, "We should have been doing more." And then they're like, "Okay, you're right. We should start doing more." And then they start doing more.
More.
I think.
More. Yeah.
Dang it! Hold on, I forgot.
Like, how many
Hold on.
times do you have to?
I don't know. I don't know how many more times I had to say it. But here you go. Okay. There. Are you happy now? Are you happy?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I live for, to make people happy. Um, but they do need to do more. I think. I mean, as much. I get that that Hunter doesn't exactly want to be fighting a war his entire life. I think that's actually a good like there's a good conflict there, you know, somebody that wants to do more and somebody that just wants to put the war to rest, you know, just be safe and live their life out more probably happily than they would have otherwise. But, you know, there's valid arguments for both sides, and I hope they play a little bit with that kind of thing because I like seeing this kind of thing. But
I
anyways,
think the interesting thing with Hunter is that he's not exactly looking for a peaceful life at all. He's looking for he wants to give that peaceful life to Omega. That's more of his
well, yeah,
thing.
right.
He's okay with going on jobs and adventures or whatever, or not doing anything at all. But the real motivation for him is that he wants Omega to have a peaceful life and to get away from the Empire and the people who might want to go after her. And it's very interesting because the whole team has different motivations for why they do. They stick together, but they do it all for different reasons. Like Echo says, he's like, okay, I'm okay with risking my life to make Omega's life better, but I want to help more people, not just her. Because Hunter would be happy retiring to a log cabin with her, and that would be it, hide forever
Mm-hmm.
if he could. But Echo can't do that, and it makes sense that he is the one who can't leave people behind because he was left behind. He was the guy who yeah, he was the guy who almost never made it out, and he did.
Oh, that's right. I didn't think about it like that, and now I do. Oh, that makes more sense now. I like that.
Yeah, I always like that they integrated Echo into this team because it's a very different thing what's going on with him than the rest of the team. They are all the same as Omega. They were like they were rejects, they were sent into suicidal missions, they were so good that they were revered or whatever, but they were not like the main clones. They were different.
Mm-hmm.
But Echo comes from those other main clones, the ones who fought alongside the Jedi, the ones who hugged all the glory, the ones who got recognition. And at some point, his life was over because he was a prisoner for so long, and he thought he would never get out. And now that he did, he's like, okay, I'm getting a second chance, and I have this amazing team and these abilities, and I want to help others like me.
Yeah, I think that Echo is so used to the you know, going out and fighting for other people that he just doesn't want to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Which that's a, you know, admirable trait for him. I like seeing a character that wants to do more in a I mean for the people that he once fought for. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, I mean, for Omega, it's very interesting because Hunter wants to hide her away from the world so she never gets any harm, and she's quite the opposite. She wants adventure. She wants to go out there into the world, see what she can do, because she never had that.
Mm-hmm.
And to be the fact that she gets herself in danger and whatever, that doesn't bother her at all. And she's not worried about, oh, the Empire is going to catch me. She wants to go out there anyway and do stuff.
Yep.
I really like how they keep playing the like Commander Tano said, she's both very competent but still a kid. And this is like the trope of kids in 90s cartoons where kids would often kick off some plot because something they did ended up becoming such a big problem because of their lack of insight. And
Mm-hmm.
in the end, it all works out because they learn a lesson, they evolve. I like that they do that with Omega.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it too. Well, anyway, you got anything else to say about the Bad Batch?
I think it's off to a good start. I mean, honestly, it didn't start with a bang, but what it gave us was very substantial in terms of many moments in the episodes. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think we can look forward to a good season.
Okay, good. Good. Because I was thinking sort of the same thing. Honestly, I'm glad that it didn't exactly start off with a bang because that would, in a way, make me feel like there's nothing that will top that for the rest of the season. So if you think about it, it can only, I mean, it can either go up or down, but it at least can go up from here instead of this being
Yes,
the pinnacle. So that's my optimistic way of looking at it, I
they're
guess.
probably they're probably playing it safe. I mean, they probably thought we shouldn't do like our best episode up front,
Mm-hmm.
so as to not disappoint.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've said practically everything I've wanted to say, except um, we haven't talked about Captain Wilco at all.
Oh yeah, poor Captain Wilco.
Yeah, they did our man dirty. They really did. Like, I mean, he
At
didn't have
least he didn't
Hauser's
have.
hair,
Yeah, yeah.
but he was cool.
You
Well,
didn't feel it as much because of the hair.
Yeah, yeah. If he had Hauser's hair or something closer to it, that might have made things different, you know. But
mhm.
he had basic boy hair, so that takes away a little bit. But he was still very cool as an Imperial trooper. Were you gonna say something, Commander Tano? Because I
No,
think I
I was
cut you
going to
off
say
early.
exactly what you had said. I think the the boringness of his hair made the loss easier.
Yeah, see, if you give a clone some really cool hair, it's hard for me to like let that go. But they gave him basic boy hair, so I sort of can let it go, but only because of that. That's it. Other than that, he was really intimidating. I actually was like a little worried for the Bad Batch because he was very efficient with what he was doing. The
Yeah.
only thing that really saved some of them was, first of all, they're very lucky. Second of all, Wrecker got a huge gun that he's keeping, and I'm very happy about it because that was a cool
Yes.
scene. Seeing him come out of the smoke like that with a huge gun that explodes everything. Oh man, I loved it. That was so
Yeah.
fun to watch.
That was very Terminator like.
Yes, it's very Wrecker like too. Like it
Yeah,
suits his character to
absolutely.
do that. It suits his character. But Captain Wilco, like I'm liking what I'm seeing, what they're doing with the Imperial clones. They are like sort of loyal to a fault, yes, but at the same time, they are not doing certain things that they would feel as unethical. Maybe it's because they've fought along the aside the Jedi for so long, and maybe they've some of that's rubbed off on them, or maybe it's just the way they've been trained. But if somebody is telling you to falsify a report, then and it's over like something that should be reported, and he doesn't do that, like he's that's
It
honorable thing for him to do. First of all,
I I think part of it maybe it could be kind of like a programming sort of thing. And
could
that
be.
is probably a part of reason why the Empire's eventually is like, or at least some Imperials are like, nah, no clones, because that's part of the problem is they can't lie.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
clones are too squared. They will do what you tell them to do, but they will not go out of those parameters. They won't because they, like you said, they're programmed.
at
That
least these
like
kind of Order 66 ones are now.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are kind
well,
of more obedient, and that probably is what kicked in. He's like, no, I'm not going to falsify this.
hmm
Yeah, because even if he's given that order from a superior, he also understands that the chain of command goes higher, and he's like, okay, I do this for you, but in the end, I will be letting my other superiors who are even above you, I'm going to betray them, and that's not the way they operate.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've also had like we've notoriously seen how bad clones are at lying throughout the Clone Wars as well.
Yeah.
One particular example would be the Umbara arc where Fives is trying to convince them that there's nothing wrong in the hangar bay when, Hardcase disintegrates the I guess the hangar door. He's like, there's nothing going on here, just a standard procedure, that kind of thing. Like clones notoriously cannot lie.
Yeah.
So that it only makes sense that he wouldn't falsify an imperial document such as that. I mean, first of all, he's like if it's found out that he falsified it, like you said, the chain of command goes higher. Those people that are higher are going to get onto him for doing something like that as well.
Yeah.
It's only the right thing to do to go to your superior, like above the one that's making you lie. You need to go to somebody above them with the truth and say he's making me, falsify these things. What he is saying isn't true, and but where he's a clone and just sort of a normal soldier, I mean, that could be turned around on him. It just sort of depends on the situation, I guess. But he's doing his best, to do things by the book. He's trying to serve the empire to the best of his ability. And, you know, like me, I don't want to do something at my job for a manager or something like that that's underneath the store manager that would probably be very bad for the store manager if, they found out about it and I didn't tell them. I wouldn't want to do that. I'd go to the store manager and tell him, "Hey, this is they told me to do this. It's not right, and it would probably affect you if it went wrong." That kind of thing. So
You need to make
it's
sure that you're not standing by any bridges where you could be shot. And
well,
Yeah.
that's also true. That's also true because that right there, that also made me sad seeing him fall like that. I'm like, why?
The,
Why would you
the,
do
one, the one thing that bothered me about that scene is that they show Wilco trying to actually do something about the gun. And I think if a clone wanted to avoid getting shot and defend himself, he could, because they're trained to do these things. So they should have shown his surprise about the officer pointing at him and then shoot him, because the fact that they show him he tried and failed, it makes him look like less competent than he should be.
Yeah, I sort of see that. Yeah, I can see that.
maybe
I
Order
mean,
66 takes away competency.
Well,
yeah,
I
unless
mean,
it's something. I mean, they could have something built in, like in RoboCop, that you cannot go against your superiors, and I can see them doing that.
Mm.
I think they actually do. They're supposed to follow orders without question. I mean,
Oh,
that's
so you
how
want to
it was
kill me? Okay,
stated.
I'll just stand here, be a good boy while you shoot me.
Well, look, just ask Dogma to do that, and he would do it.
Oh yeah.
True.
They have orders. They got to go through with it. Okay, well, Dogma, you be the first one to stand there then. But anyways, um, I guess I've said everything that I've wanted to say about this show throughout the entirety of the stream. I just wanted to mention Wilco, because like they did him dirty. Made me sort of sad because I liked, even though he was after the main heroes of the series, he was really cool. Like he was doing his job efficiently. I appreciated seeing somebody that was trying to actually do their job right instead of them showing everybody being incompetent. It's just showing that the Bad Batch is better than them. That's all it is. It's not that
Yes.
they're incompetent; they're just better.
Yes, he
And
was very smart, and the whole chase, the way they showed him getting the reports and issuing orders according
hmm
to each situation. The moment he realizes, like, oh, there was a communication. That means the other guys are not dead. The ones we think are dead, they are not. It's like, yeah, that's the thought process you should have. And often they like to play the soldiers in any franchise. They like to play them as very dumb. In this case,
hmm
this guy knows what he's doing. He really is on top of things.
yeah, and he did make it hard for the Bad Batch. They were struggling the entire time, and
Yeah,
that's one thing that Star Wars has been struggling with lately is making competent villains. Like Star Wars Rebels is a very good example of how not to do the villain part, because all
yeah,
the or not villains, but more of the minions, they make them all so incompetent and stupid that
yeah,
it doesn't take much of nothing to beat them. Like if it would make the heroes that much cooler if the enemy actually put up a fight. See, the heroes, they're cool and all, from Rebels, but the enemies are so bad at what they do. So technically, if you wanted to rate them at a power level, anybody in the Clone Wars would beat anybody in Rebels with no issues at all.
yeah.
Because like the villains don't put up as much of a fight as the ones in the Clone Wars did, you know. Or no, let's say the Bad Batch. The droids aren't really much of a fight.
Yeah,
they overpower. That's
yeah,
it.
that makes a lot of sense because in the Clone Wars you have two types of enemy armies. You have the clones on one hand, and you have the droids. And the droids are a bit incompetent, yeah, because all they know how to do is to move forward and shoot. That makes sense. And they even make
Yeah.
fun of that when they get to these other droids, the ones that are commanding them, and they pose a bigger threat because they can make a whole squadron more dangerous just by issuing orders. That makes sense. But in Rebels, they are only working with people, with stormtroopers, and these troopers, they are so incredibly stupid. They don't pose a threat for anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And they can't shoot. They're
They can
they're
shoot.
they're worse. They're worse than the ones in the original trilogy. Like
Yeah.
at least a few of them hit one of the main characters. Leia got shot in the shoulder, so they're not that incompetent. They actually got a shot. But Thrawn was the main thing that kept me with Star Wars Rebels. He was competent. It was the people under him that wasn't, and that's also what makes me a little bit mad at Rebels is because they gave us such a good villain for Rebels, but the people that worked under him ruined it for him. Like he could have
I,
won.
I, I feel like what happened in Rebels is that the mistake they made was to put Thrawn as the villain for them. Because, yes, Thrawn is a very cool villain. But the only way to make the heroes able to outsmart him or escape him was to make the people behind Thrawn incapable. That was the only way. Because if you were to truly respect who Thrawn is, then they could not win. He's too
Mm-hmm.
much of an adversary for the likes of the Ghost
Yeah.
Crew.
It's
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
with Thrawn, you can't put him against people who have plot armor.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
because he ends up looking bad.
Yep.
But yeah, but when he was, in those times where he's allowed to kind of be bad, like he was great. Like I loved like the I shouldn't say I loved, that sounds awful, but it's like I'll just say I love the part where you had like Ezra and Kanan kind of infiltrating this like factory or place where they're manufacturing or fixing up these like speeder bikes and and they were and the
Yes.
people and one of those little farmer friends of Ezra's family, one of those characters was there
Yeah.
making them and they were sabotaging them so they'd explode and Thrawn was like, oh, hey, you stand by your work. He's like, okay, yeah. And just makes him ride on it until it explodes. And like, I was kind of surprised that given the age range that they were kind of making that show for, I was kind of surprised they allow stuff like that in there, but it was so like it was kind of satisfying in a
Yeah,
strange way to just see him be allowed to do things like that on occasion. But that's the other thing. It's like he was in a show that was like it was the wrong age bracket to have a character
I was
like
yeah,
about to say
that.
the same thing. He was not made for a kid's show.
no,
Well,
no, because there's
anyways,
also this part when he was when they make you as the audience kind of aware that, oh yeah, he knew Callus was the mole all along, and it's like, if he knew, he wouldn't have let him escape or endanger how many missions. I mean, if he really knew this guy was compromised, he wouldn't take so many risks,
yeah.
because he might be plotting to use him or whatever, but he's not stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But I mean, that such is the case with kid shows. They have to throw some kind of incompetency in there for the heroes to win. I mean, it's sort of
It's
sad
too
if you look
bad.
at it. Hmm. It really is, because if that's the only way the heroes can win against a major villain like that in a kids show, then that villain was too good for the show. Not
Mm.
you know the,
Yeah.
you don't make a villain like that for a kids show. A kids show is made for the feel good type of superhero stories where they never hardly ever lose, and that kind of thing. His
Yeah,
his kind of
and
supervillain.
they and they
Go ahead.
knew they knew that they couldn't do these kind of things, because the moment they announced the movie where they would make Ezra and Kanan encounter Vader, I was like, I hope they don't mess that up, and they didn't. The way they played it was that they really made you feel like, okay, this guy is coming after us. If he gets us, we are so dead. And the moment
Mm-hmm.
Kanan tells Ezra, like, kid, we cannot fight this guy. If we fight this guy,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to die. It's like, yeah, that's the way you do this.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I did like the way they did it. Vader doesn't fail like that. He doesn't fail to
Yeah,
kill a person, or he doesn't fail as far as being beaten in a lightsaber fight like that. There's no way he was going to fail.
no,
No way at all. But that's why they used him very sparingly, because they
yeah,
didn't want to use him in any scenario where he would lose to the main characters. And I do appreciate that they didn't do that, that they didn't let him lose to the main characters, that he would always win. They would get away, yes, but it's a victory for him because they didn't succeed in what they were there for.
yeah.
So I really appreciate the way they did that. Anyways, back to the Bad Batch. For one last thing, or yeah, about one last thing, I did like the character progression for uh, uh, Omega. I don't know why I was having a hard time saying her name. I liked how she felt like it was her fault. I liked that scene, and she tried her best, even though it was a little annoying at first. And I thought, are they trying to make her out to be this kind of money hungry pirate type of person? I didn't understand it all exactly at first, but then when they cleared it up at the end with Echo saying that, or with her telling Echo that she heard him, it made so much sense to why she was acting out of character, because it didn't really seem like her character to be doing that. But because of what Echo said, she did something very stupid, but that's because she felt like it was her fault. But that's why that scene between her and Echo at the end was really good. And I like seeing that she was doing something. It wasn't even for her; it was for them. See, the weird thing is, the Bad Batch are doing everything for Omega, and Omega is doing everything she can for all of them. And I love it, because it's not like an all for one type of deal where she's getting all the benefits. She's actually trying to put out and help too. So I love that kind of thing. But I think that's all I'm going to say about it. I think it's off to a promising start. Like you said, it's nothing like it's not how did you say it earlier? You said it didn't start. Oh yeah, it didn't start off with a bang, which I'm glad for. Um, but I think that the bang may come soon because I mean they still haven't showed Crosshair yet, and I'm sort of I was sort of wondering why they didn't mention Crosshair in the first episode yet, or even show him. But I think that we're probably in for something pretty interesting with Crosshair on this season. But that's all
Yeah.
I got to
Yeah,
say.
I'm nervous about that.
I'm interested because I don't think they're going to kill him off. If they did
If
want
they
to kill him off,
redemption death him, I'm
we're back to
nope,
that one.
nope.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. I don't want a redemption death. I want him to join back up with the Bad Batch at the very least.
Yep,
I
agreed.
think that's the only way it can really end. I don't think it'll end with them killing off Crosshair. I think he'll join back up with them and try to make up for what he did.
I hope so, but it's like I want. I almost. I have my doubts as
It's
to
a
whether
nagging
they're.
feeling.
I have my doubts as to whether they're capable of doing those kinds of stories.
Well,
You
that's
know,
also true. It is sometimes hard to believe that they can come up with something so good. But
it would subvert
um,
expectations if they didn't. I can say
Ryan
that.
Johnson, are you over here? We want to subvert
Yeah,
some expectations.
yeah. Where are you when we need you? Come on.
Yes. Do some actual subverting and do a good job at it. Don't just tell us and like do whatever it was the Last Jedi was.
I'm really
Anyways,
I'm really interested in you know how in the trailer we saw different characters that haven't shown up, and one of them is
mm-hmm.
the Jedi Wookiee, and
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to see what the story behind that is,
Mm-hmm.
how they get
Yeah.
tangled with that.
And I wonder what will happen to the Jedi Wookiee.
I know what you want to happen to the Jedi Wookiee.
What are you talking about? It's not like I'm wishing death upon him. I couldn't waste my chance. I had to do it. I had to do it. I couldn't waste my chance. I ain't done it in a long time. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we haven't seen yet that showed up in the trailer. I'm particularly excited for Commander Cody.
Oh yes, Commander Cody.
I'm hoping that Rex and Cody have some sort of interaction in this season. It would really
Yeah.
it would really make sense for them
Oh,
to
that
meet up.
you just hit another interesting spot. We haven't seen Rex, and we know Rex is out there.
Uh-huh. But that's a I want to. Did they show Rex at all in the trailer? I feel like they did for one of the trailers.
I kind of remember it like they did. I'm not sure.
So
yeah, I think in one
I'm
of the trailers, yeah.
okay. I'm glad it's not just me. Okay, so I think that we will get that interaction. That or Rex will have something to do with finding Cody or something like that. I don't know. But I'm super excited to see what they do with Cody. This season may be the best season of the Bad Batch that we'll have so far. I mean, the first season wasn't anything exactly to write home about. I like it, but this season could be that one thing that you'll just want to go back and watch over and over. I'm hoping.
Yeah, the first season wasn't super exciting as a show as a whole, but it had very cool arcs.
Mm-hmm. It did, and the characters are lovable. I love them all. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a bad show, and I'm hoping that this season's even better than the first one. I mean, it can't be that hard, right, to make a really good show. I mean, they sort of did that with the Clone Wars, so why can't they do it here?
they they know how to do these kinds of shows. They know what works and what doesn't. It's all a matter of how restricted they are by management. Like you can do
Mm-hmm.
this, you can do that. Because right now with the budgets tightening because of the money losses and all, animation is sadly is one of the first places they start cutting because it's so expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that's where I'm going to leave it today, though, because there's not really like a whole lot we can really talk about since we don't know much yet. Probably by the next episode, we might get something. Now, one minor thing I want to mention is that I saw the list of episodes, like the names of them and stuff like that. I also saw when the episodes are releasing. I think we get like three uh, double episode days throughout the entirety of the release of the show. So the first one was the release day, and then there's two more days throughout the release of the show that's going to showcase two episodes coming out at the same time as opposed to one. So I don't know what the deal with that is, but that could mean that those episodes are just so good that you can't play them both one after the other alone. They need to both be there, or it could be a bad thing, and I'm hoping it's the former rather than the latter.
Yeah, I think it could also be about the timing. They probably want the show to run faster so that they can put up the next show because they really they cut a lot of stuff that was planned and now it won't be made. So now they have less
Mm-hmm.
content and they have to entice people to actually keep the subscriptions.
Yeah, that's true. Well, anyways, I think we'll leave it here. It's been good, like streaming again. It's been a little bit, but it's been really nice. Unfortunately, Saray Way never got to show up, but he, I'll scold him for being late or being so early because he's in the future that he was late. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how time travel works. Anyways, I guess we'll leave it there. So if you like the stream, you can subscribe, leave a like, something like that. There's a playlist in the description. You can always look for all the Star Wars Topics episodes in that singular playlist right there. We also have a Discord. That's also linked in the description down below, and my Twitter as well. But yeah, that'll be all. So may the force be with you. And I botched that so bad. I'm so bad at outros. May the force be with you guys.
Too much, 3.5.